If I had a boat, I would sail out, take every brother and sister of mine. We'd row in the sunshine and sleep when it's dark, hoping to find somewhere we can call home. But it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black, 'cause it's black, it's all black, black water. If I had some time, I'd be biting it well, but my house is on fire, there's no one left to tell. Just take what is given, the doors have been sealed. Just breathe in the poison and hope God is real. I'll pick you violet flowers if I get there faster than you. I'll pick you violet flowers if I get there faster than you. 'Cause it's mad, yeah, it's mad. Oh, the whole world's mad. 'Cause it's mad, it's all mad. It's mad out there. 'Cause it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black. 'Cause it's black, it's all black, black water. Cause it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black. 'Cause it's black, it's all black, black water, oh, black water. 'Cause it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black. 'Cause it's black, it's all black, black water.
Oh, welcome to our live tonight, everyone. I did not want to go live. Lately, I have not enjoyed going live. I don't know why. I just don't want to. But when the news came out yesterday, sorry, let me get the chat going here. Let me welcome everyone first. See, this is why I'm not alive. And sorry for my horrible studio, like all my gears back there. I don't have a beautiful studio like most people. I just all my search gears back there in a pile. I apologize. Hey Eve, thank you for coming in last minute. Hey Lisa K. Hey Meow. Shy girl, don't be shy in this chat tonight. Hey TN Twister. People from it's cool recognizing names from the different cases that we cover. People who have come in over the different cases we've taken on. This is a hard live for me. I've watching the interview, just actually seeing the X post that Dawn put out. I don't know why it made me so angry. I have nothing against Dawn. I have nothing against Dawn and Candace. But I do have, like, what really gets me going, if you want to get me fired up, not much does. It's putting out, hey, Paul, thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up. If you want to really get me fired up, man, put something out there that is misleading, that does not tell the full truth, or if it leaves out details that will cause people to make assumptions that are untrue. And I felt like that's kind of what happened. I'm not going to say it's intentional. Again, we try really hard not to talk bad about people, and I'm not going to talk bad about the Wells. I do need to clarify some things about what was put out in that statement. The news doesn't even, like, they're clueless too. They're all that was put out there was a one letter to Dawn and to Candace of the finding of the court following an appeal of the original DCS substantiated claims, telling DCS, basically ordering DCS to make them unsubstantiated. Legit. I mean, there were DCS. Now we know, and we can talk about, because it's public, that there at one point in time there were DCS substantiated allegations. According to DCS, they were substantiated. We know today the court's saying, no, mark those as unsubstantiated, not substantiated. I looked it up in Tennessee. In different states, that means different things. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Tian Twister. I didn't realize that. In other states, they have different categories. So you'll have unfounded being a category for completely innocent, unfounded charges or accusations, completely untrue. Other states, if it's classified as like unsubstantiated, it just means not enough evidence to support the allegations. So if a child makes a claim and they just don't have enough evidence to prove it, they can make it unsubstantiated. In this case, in Tennessee, it's thank you, Paul. Appreciate that so much. That helps a lot. In Tennessee, unsubstantiated, I looked it up. They don't have different categories. Unsubstantiated means basically you are, it does mean not enough evidence, but that leads to the conclusion by the court that you are not guilty, yeah, you're not guilty of the allegations. The allegations that were made were found to be unfounded, so, or unsubstantiated. But the question is, and the question that we have to think about here, and I looked to see what people are talking about this. Nobody's talking about this. I mean, it's only been a day, I understand, but you guys, when we heard rumors about the charge, the last year is when we heard about this, and we were like, oh my God, if people found out DCS had classified child allegations as substantiated, they classified it as substantiated. If people found that out, the first thing everyone would do is assume that if that accusation is substantiated against the Wells, they would draw conclusions about Summer's case. And we didn't want to cause that to happen, because you don't want people just drawing conclusions that aren't there. There was no connection between the allegations that were being made and Summer Wells. Summer Wells didn't make the allegations. He and I'm not letting anything out there that's not out there. Don himself said that the court found the claims were unsubstantiated. He literally said the three sons. Okay, so Summer's not listed anywhere. Summer Wells is not part of this case. And to see him follow up with the statement saying, but if Summer Wells is found, if she's ever found, she can come home. If you assume she's still alive at this point, obviously. And there is nothing in the document they shared or anything in the allegations or claims that is related to Summer. So how can you draw the conclusion that Summer could go home? Nobody knows who did it. Nobody knows who abducted her, if there was an accident, who did it. Nobody knows anything. The law enforcement has not cleared anyone, has not cleared the parents specifically. Not that they shouldn't be cleared. I'm not saying they're guilty, but law enforcement has not yet. Law enforcement hasn't said they're innocent. They're cleared. No court has tried anyone in the Summer Wells case, finding them innocent or guilty. So nobody at this point can say that anyone is, that the parents, I'm sorry, you can't say they're guilty, but you also can't say they're innocent. That's part of being balanced and unbiased when you talk about these cases, is you can't say either, because nothing can be proven. Don's trying to, in his statement, he is trying to say, here's evidence. We're innocent. Maybe you are innocent. Maybe you are, but what you provided there does not prove it. And I'll show you why. I'm going to talk about, again, we thought if the earlier substantiated charges, claims, whatever you want to call them, got out, it would blow up, and like the internet, YouTube would go crazy with people talking about the wells, slamming the wells, saying, "Ah ha ha!" Obviously, they're guilty and everything. And it never got out. Somehow, it never leaked. Chasing made a vague statement at one point where it almost leaked through her, but she didn't give any details. And she just said it's nothing to do with Summer. She was correct. It's nothing to do with Summer directly. Okay. Um, sorry, I got distracted by Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that. Let's take a look. So when this came out, I'm like, oh well, okay, the opposite's true, right? They're trying to say they're innocent. Now the cat's out of the bag. Cat's out of the bag. It's gonna blow up. YouTube's gonna go crazy. People are gonna be talking about this. And so what I do is to see the most recent information that's kind of being talked about. Hey, Chasing. Yeah, that's true, Chasing. You did say you didn't support them at that time, related to something that was happening. Nobody gave any details for good reason. But when this came out, I wanted to see, like, I was curious what people would think, what people would assume based on his statement, that connecting the two things. I just wanted to see other people's point of view. So what I did, you guys, is let me share my screen if I can remember how to do this. I never go live. Let's do this screen. Oh, you guys. No, it won't. I mean, you don't have to at this point, because Don kind of, in a way, he's told everything. Thankfully, he said the three sons, so it's out there. I don't have to really talk about anything anymore. It's out there, but I do need to talk about this tonight. So what I usually do, let me share my screen if I can. Share. That one. So I will type in Summer Wells, right? Summer Wells, and I will go filters this week because it came out yesterday. Pretty much the only people talking about it right now. Yeah. That's true, Lisa. I have noticed. I heard about the people who had heard the leaked information, or just the rumors, or whatever you want to call them, and nobody said anything, which was really impressive. Knowing the YouTubers and how things go, I was impressed that nothing came out until Dawn announced this today. I was like flabbergasted. I guess only the right people found out, right? Because it was quiet. It was quiet. It was amazing, until it came out today. So basically, news organizations have covered this. That's the thing, Chasing. Like, that's the thing to me, is nobody knows, or few people know. And the only information that's out there now, maybe this doesn't bother you, but the only information now that's out there is what Don Wells released, in the way and the form, and only the details that he released. And I feel like it forces the public who doesn't know anything more about it, to draw incorrect and false conclusions. To me, it's better to have nothing out there, right? It's better to just not have anything out there, and that way nobody can assume anything. Nobody can assume that they're guilty. But now it's like the opposite issue, where there's, and we'll talk about it. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The only people who have covered this is Michelle After Dark. And like I said, I was wondering how people were going to analyze this and what conclusions they were going to draw. Okay, thank you, Chasing. I'm glad I'm not alone. um, she gave me a little insight into what people are thinking about this whole thing, and the conclusions that people are drawing, and it confirmed my worst fear. And let's take a look. I'll explain to you what I mean. She tried to understand.
The morning of the 12th of June. Of our DCS case has been dismissed. All
Can you guys hear it, by the way? I don't know if I shared the sound when she's talking.
opinions of abuse and neglect are dropped and unsubstantiated by judge order. According to Tennessee,
Give me a thumbs up or something if you can actually hear that. Good. Okay.
DCS, Department of Children's Services, we have not abused or neglected our three sons. This is the legal final say. It means in part that if Summer is found today, she can come home. So received April 21st.
So you see what she's doing here, which is exactly what I thought people were going to do. They're like, okay, this is interesting. They're cleared. Look for the dates. Like, what is this? What is this related to? Is this related to charges that happened back in 2021 and suddenly they're cleared of everything? Like, what is this even related to? What are the charges that are, what are the claims or the substantiated claims that are suddenly clear? So she goes right after that. She's a good researcher. I got to give her that. She went right after the dates. She's like, well, okay, this was received April 21, 2025.
So we've got Don Wells, appellant, and Candice Bly, appellant, and the text is the same for both of them. I'll read this one because it's a bit.
I won't go through her reading it. I'll cover the documents in a bit. But then the conclusion she draws, she reads them both, right? Covers Don's statement.
DCS Administrative Procedures Division for the background. And here is Don talking about this very thing.
Hello, everyone. This is Don Wills. We're here to report to you that we've got official letters from the heads of DCS that we are cleared from any abuse and neglect on our parts towards our children. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
And then 10 hours ago.
Now there he did say our children. Not sure why he said the children there, but in the X account differently. But anyway.
So I will be sharing the main story update here tonight or tomorrow. All right, we've got something from WJHL. Thank you, Ansley, Kristen, Anna, and other media that contributed to share summer updates. No contact. And in fact, they deleted our phone number or blocked my phone.
Now, what she gets to a little later is she looked for, did law enforcement clear them? Like, if this is true, if it goes back to 2021, it goes all the way back to when someone went missing. If that's what this is, and it's everything's cleared, any charges from back then are clear. If there were DCS charges, who knows? Who knows what these DCS charges were from? Because it's not provided anywhere. People are like, well, then they're cleared, right? Like there were no, at least cleared of any abuse or allegations from when. And so what Michelle does is she goes, well, did the law enforcement clear them then?
As soon as we got done with that case and signed our children over. So did DCS block his phone, or did the place where what is meaning from that? Yes, pursuant to state and federal law, DCS investigations are from Don. Declined to comment about the ongoing search.
There we go.
The case against Anna Candice has been dropped. The TBI declined to comment about the ongoing search for Summer, and the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office did not respond to our requests. That's terrible. Terrible. Anyone who has credible information about the whereabouts of Summer Wells should.
It's terrible, she says. It's terrible. Why wouldn't they clear the wells? Why would they clear the wells if this is true? Just publicly clear them, right? Unless, why wouldn't they clear them? In the case they wouldn't clear them is if this DCS situation has nothing to do with the Summer Wells case. That's why they wouldn't clear them. Otherwise they would, right? I mean, if there was, obviously the court says that there was at least no abuse, no neglect of Summer, if it was related to Summer, that should have a relevance to the case. But did the DCS substantiated allegations have anything to do with Summer? Let's take a look at that now. This is the X account, right? Yes. Whew, why is my heart racing so fast? I don't know why this makes me so angry, you guys. I'm not angry at anyone. I am just angry about, I don't like misleading information. I don't like people drawing the wrong conclusions and not getting to the truth. So anyway, is this the X account? Oh shoot, it doesn't show us comment. Hold on, let me find it. Here it is. It is sensitive. Maybe that's why chasing, like, yes. Okay, so Don, the statement on their X account was, our DCS case has been dismissed. All opinions of abuse or neglect are dropped and unsubstantiated by judge order. 100% true. 100% true. According to Tennessee DCS, we have not abused or neglected our 3 sons. That is true. But pay attention to words, because words are very important. According to Tennessee DCS, we have not abused or neglected our 3 sons. Now, if you look at the documents, I can't zoom here, so I'm going to zoom here. Hold on. Sorry. Kind of prepared for this by getting my links set up. I see this as a, okay. It kind of does matter. It kind of does, because we'll get to that. What we know now, based on Don's own words, is the allegations were related only to the 3 sons, had nothing to do with Summer. Which means this case here, which was appealed in April 28. Let's zoom in a little bit. An appeal was filed February 13, 2025. An appeal to what? Now we know that it was a previous DCS claim of substantiated allegations regarding the 3 brothers. I think you misunderstood. Michelle, when I listened to her this morning, I took her to be saying it was terrible TBI didn't respond, not the TBI didn't clear them. No, I understand. Yeah, I agree. Robin. Because she felt like TBI should respond if it was related to Summer's case. You know what I mean? Like, they should at least make a statement, but I don't think they have any reason to make a statement if it has nothing to do with Summer Wells. There's no reason they would make a statement. No, it's okay. So the appeal was filed February 13, 2025. What we can get from Don's statement on the X account is that the previous DCS substantiated allegations were regarding the 3 sons. The previous, whenever it was, which you can't see here. It was filed February 13th. And this is interesting too. I thought, hold on. I thought when I first heard about this, when I just saw his interview, I thought that the court had basically heard all the evidence, actually went through the process, and then they dropped the charges. Like they made this decision. As you read this, you realize it's just a little more complicated than that. Their appeal, the Wells appealed the DCS substantiated status in February 13, 2025, with the Administrative Procedures Division of DCS. And then basically, I guess an acknowledgement letter was issued in February from DCS, I guess. And then they scheduled a hearing. So there was going to be a court hearing in May 13th of this year, just a few months ago. Just before that hearing, DCS filed a notice of withdrawal and a motion to dismiss. So it was like they got acknowledgement, DCS got word of the appeal, and then immediately, a few weeks later, they just dropped it. They withdrew it, and they dismissed the case. Roxy, the case was withdrawn, right? Correct. And then, because the case is withdrawn, the court was like, well, we don't even have to consider, we don't even have to take all the evidence into consideration and determine if substantiation, if the charges are substantiated, because it's been dropped. So they're like, substantiation is moot, therefore the appeal is dismissed. They just didn't even have to do anything with it. And based on those findings, the court issued an order to DCS. They need to change the classification to not substantiated, and then basically ordered DCS to remove the status for both Dawn and Candace. Which doesn't mean it's not legitimately unsubstantiated, not substantiated. If DCS withdrew the case, then it's kind of the same thing, I would think, because that means DCS literally, kind of on their own, they're kind of saying, well, we're just going to withdraw. I took that as, from their opinion, it's not substantiated. So I don't know. I don't get that part. I don't know any information about why they withdrew or why they dismissed. After finding out there was an appeal and they would have to go to court. That's kind of weird. Yeah, I usually let people kind of comment, and it's okay if you think they're guilty. We try not to accuse, just say they're definitely guilty or innocent. We gotta stay in the middle. But Chasing's right. I mean, a lot of people who say that don't know them. I always said in the past that I felt like, and people got mad at me for saying this, that I felt like Don came across as hurting, and when we saw him in person, he seemed to be hurting. So I'm not saying they're guilty. I'm just saying that this letter, only providing this letter, nothing else. Thankfully, he said the brothers. Thankfully, he said the sons. It only included the sons. He made that statement. So that at least helps us understand this literally had nothing to do with Summer's case. But the problem is that there were conversations about DCS visiting the house before Summer went missing, right? Like, that's been how many videos out there are made about DCS visiting the house before Summer disappeared. And then all you're going to provide the public now is this letter. And anybody who doesn't dig into it, or anybody who doesn't read it, or anybody who doesn't see his statement saying the three sons, I'm not trying to imply this was by design, although it kind of felt that way. The way this was released, I'm sorry, but it felt designed this way to make this appear as though it was related to the very earliest conversations about DCS related to the Summer Wells case. And because it's about only the three boys, I am pretty damn certain it's not related to 2021. Could I be wrong? Only if the 2021. No, I couldn't be wrong. Sorry. I'm just, yeah. So I was hoping people on here, people who come into this live, could tell me when you heard about this, what did you assume? Like, did you make any assumptions about what case was even related to? Or I don't know. I'm curious what people were thinking. It says they are dropping abuse neglect theories. Correct. Yes. Not related to Summer, though. That's the thing. Is that like, yeah. That's what I'm thinking people are going to think. But yes, it says they're dropping abuse neglect theories. Unfortunately, the letter itself doesn't really say who the allegations are, because you can't. I mean, when you're dealing with minors, obviously. You aren't wrong. This is strictly regarding the boys' Summer case. If we're missing is a totally separate thing. Thank you. And I was just, I'm curious. You know that. Other people know that. And you can draw that conclusion if you're the type of person that looks at all of the statement, like the statement on X, and then related to this. So you can, okay, well, it's the 3 boys, so it's not related to a case. But are people doing that? Are people making the assumptions? And that's kind of what I'm curious about. So I assume the charges were dropped to avoid prosecution. Okay, yeah. I think ICU, I think that's what most people are going to assume because of the way this was released, that it's all related. It's all related to the whole fiasco, the whole Summer Wells case. If that's what you're saying, if you mean avoid prosecution in the case. Oops. If Summer were to be found alive today, I'm certain there would be a lengthy situation prior to. Yeah, agreed. And I was thinking about that when I heard that statement or read that statement. I'm like, well, there's 2 things that I thought first. If that's true, what is up with the boys? At least we know the oldest now because it's public, going into the adoption system, or they're in foster care still. They're not going home. So there's that. I would think if everything ever got dropped related to them, that they would. Well, I guess the parents did they early on signed them off to the state, so they're already signed off. I don't know why they signed them off. I don't know the situation around that. I don't think that's public either. Why they back then signed them over to the state. Was it like gunpoint or something? I don't know. But they're not going home. And I agree that if Summer were either found somewhere, if someone actually did abduct her, there would be a whole process. And I'm not going to say what I feel about whether or not she would go back home. I'm sure whatever y'all's big, it just came out. I mean, this is it. This is honestly Karma Queen. This is what everyone was talking about for the past year. That there were substantiated claims, substantiated allegations from DCS against the Wells. That's it. And now it's out, but it's out with the evidence of the appeal, the results of the appeal, and only the appeal findings from the court were released. But in my opinion, it's out. When I listened to Michelle, I took it that was about the boys. Dawn, on the other hand, thinks and said so that they get to keep Summer. He is the one making the connection that isn't there. Yeah, maybe Michelle. It seemed like Michelle, because she seemed confused to me. Maybe you don't think she was. She seemed to be not sure what this letter was talking about, or when it was talking about either. So she seemed a little confused to me, but maybe she wasn't. Isn't always streamlined. They too make judgments. Yeah. I mean, chasing, I was thinking that too. Like, they could have, at that point of the appeal regarding the boys coming in, they could have withdrawn, because at that point they were like, maybe they were thinking, there's more to this. It's convoluted and they're not going to be found guilty, whether it would be considered abuse. A lot of times in those cases too, there's like, I've heard of cases where it's like they make a finding, it doesn't reach the level of, well, that's neglect usually. So there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of forms of abuse. So I would think the state gave the Wells specific things to do to get the boys back, and they didn't do those things. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah, if they withdrew. I don't know. But the Wells must have a pretty good lawyer, I gotta tell you, because this is actually pretty impressive from a legal standpoint. If I understand, they will have access to the oldest boy. I did not hear that, but no, his brothers, because they were already adopted out. I haven't heard anything about access to the boys. I thought that I read just earlier today. I found an article or a recent interview that said they couldn't even contact them, but maybe that's just older information. I don't know if they want to either. No, wait a minute. It will come. Oh, it's good. There's really, I don't know if any other details would even be worth talking about, honestly, other than the date. But the only reason I personally don't talk about the actual date is because I didn't see the evidence itself. Didn't actually see with my own eyes, so I'm not going to say something is true. I just know that it was not, because of what Don said, it's not related to Summer Wells' case. So I can say that. Yeah. I mean, maybe there's no drama with this being released. Like, nobody's talking about this, so I don't even know if people care anymore, other than the 100 or so people in here. Maybe this will get views. I don't care. But it doesn't really seem like people are as interested anymore. Maybe they would be chasing. Maybe you're right. If it was the flip side, if this was the opposite and it was found substantiated, maybe what we were thinking, the whole circus thing, would actually have happened. Are people like that? I would think there's just as many people who would want to talk about this. Maybe not. I guess people like bad stuff more than this. Right? I don't know. It's like more people want to watch videos of serial killers and murders than people getting saved, I guess. So maybe that's what it is. Yeah. I don't know. I hope so, Mama Jean. Again, since I don't. This is so unrelated to the Summers case that I just don't. I don't think this is going to further the case or hurt the case. It just, it's one of those things. Even though Don thinks it furthers the case or that builds his case of innocence, I don't think it does either. And that's why I just wanted to get on here and. You think so? I get over 1,000 in here if they're guilty. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's a sad, sorry state of the world, I guess. I find it all interesting whichever way it goes. Summer shows up alive somewhere, that would be amazing. If she's found some other state, it would be horrible. If the parents are innocent at the end of all this, and if some other person did it, that to me is just as big a deal as if they were found guilty. So I don't know. It's weird how people pick and choose what they get excited about or interested in understanding more about and getting the facts around. Strange. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I mean, I've never, Jen and I go live very rarely, and we never look at the count. For one thing, we don't go live often enough, so we don't get a lot of live traffic. We don't even do it for the live views. We do it when something important happens like this. We consider this important. And most of our audience, for some reason, also seems to be like an older crowd who likes to just sit down and watch things. So they're probably going to all sit down and watch this over the next week. So, which is fine. Hey, all you viewers after the fact. What was it he said? He said, let me share that with you. Well, it's weird. It's interesting because in his interview or his video statement, he said his children, but in this case, on the X account, you see this here. Can you read that? That's really small. He said, our DCS case has been dismissed. All opinions of abuse or neglect are dropped and unsubstantiated by judge order. According to Tennessee DCS, we have not abused or neglected our 3 sons. And then he makes the other unrelated statement, and I don't understand what that logic is. That's all. Mars. I don't. Did he? Well, then again, if he did, if Pruitt wants did say nothing could happen until the CPS stuff was over, he would have said that, I would assume, prior to 2024, prior to last year, prior to the last couple years, I think. Do you know when he said that? Because he would have said it, if that's true, that there's CPS stuff, that would have been CPS stuff going all the way back to 2021. And I assume that would have been related to summer. So if that stuff he was talking about, actually it had to, if he said nothing could happen related to CPS stuff, number one, it would have had to be related to summer, because he was talking about someone else's case, which means what Dawn is talking about here, related to the 3 boys, has nothing to do with CPS stuff that Pruitt was talking about. Does everyone follow that logic? Because that was, I could state it again. That was a roundabout way. If you guys know when Pruitt said that, that would help. But again, I'll try to state this without talking in circles. If Pruitt ever did say there was CPS stuff when he was talking about someone else's case, he would have been talking about CPS stuff related to summer, whether it was substantiated or unsubstantiated allegations or whatever. Nobody knows, because nobody's seen any CPS stuff related to summer. But if he ever admitted that there was Summer Wells CPS stuff, we can say without a doubt what he was talking about has nothing to do with what Dawn just released, because Dawn's talking about the 3 sons. And there's a big if, which I don't want to say because it could confuse people or make people go off on a rabbit trail. But there is, I'll say it, there's a remote chance. No, I'm not going to say it. Never mind. I don't want to start a conspiracy theory. I tend to try to connect things if I can, but then I'm just going down a road of conspiracy. And okay, thank you, Gavel Geeks. He said CPS taking the boys wasn't about Summer, but it bleeds into Summer's case. Wasn't about Summer, but it bleeds, and that's interesting. Were those his words? Bleeds into the Summer case? No, that nothing could happen. That is a weird way to describe. Very vague. Oh yeah, it's true. She does. I mean, I can see that. I'll tell you, I mean, I'm sure you all thought this too when we heard about this, and now everyone has heard about it. You can imagine if you hear those allegations before it was proven if they were substantiated or not. If before the court decided, if you all had heard about this before the court decided if it was substantiated or not, and you heard the boys had allegations against their parents, you would also assume that, right? Like what Pruitt said, that it would inform. Those are the words I used when I talked about this back when we were being vague about it. I said, I think it would inform the case, because if there was legitimately that kind of abuse happening in the house, obviously it would inform Summer's case. And I would have to assume that's kind of what he was saying there by bleeds into Summer's case. I'm assuming, of course, but I don't know if she's Wells now. Have you, if you don't mind me asking, Chasing, I don't want to put you on the spot here. Has this news changed your stance at all? If you don't mind sharing, I'm kind of curious. I haven't talked to anyone else who kind of backed away when this first people were hearing about it. And I'm curious if does this change that for you? Are you would you consider yourself more of a supporter again? I'm not sure what you're talking about. The Weeping Willow in the creek. Oh, the story about the creek. My God, I don't know. If it's too long of an answer, Chasing, you don't have to answer in here. You can make a lot. I changed a while back due to some issues. I felt very relieved when this came out today. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you, me too, because number one, actual substantiated allegations, true allegations, it's just a horrible thing. Like to literally someone got abused, and if a court said yes, there's enough evidence, then yeah, I agree. You've got proven that a minor got abused. So in this case, it's the opposite, and that is always a good thing, regardless of who it is. There is a again, other states, they have a problem with the unsubstantiated statement, and they made the case. I read an article. It was a Wisconsin article that talked about how sometimes when courts do this, I'm not saying Tennessee, and I'm not specifically talking about this case, but in other states, when they will say unsubstantiated, it means not enough evidence to substantiate the claims. And you think about it, like if a child has made a claim like that, the only reason they will say it's unsubstantiated is because they can't prove it. Now you've got a child who has made these claims, and they can no longer get the kind of support that a child could in those states, where if the claims are substantiated, then they're like legitimate, they've been proven in court. And it's actually really bad for some kids in other states. Like I said, though, I looked it up, and in Tennessee, the courts look at unsubstantiated as the same as unfounded, unlike other states. So we could consider it unfounded or innocent. Okay, thank you, Pruitt. Counsel for the Wells. They have been appointed for other instances, but it bleeds over into this investigation as well. Oh, that's even more vague. They have been appointed for other instances, which I guess it makes sense to assume. Oh, regarding counsel for the Wells in the CPS case. Okay, he wasn't assuming. Got it. Okay. Let's take a look. Oh, okay. Oh man, I can't click on that link. There we can. I can in my actual live. That's new lead. I'm not hearing anything. What's going on?
Today and have a conversation.
Oh dear Lord, did you send me a really long live with no timestamp? Oh, sorry, 128. Thank you. Like, do you expect me to go through this whole thing? 128:26.
Okay, and had a decent line of communication with them.
About a month later, in July, Child Protective Services removed her 3 older brothers from their home and appointed a...
Hold on. You guys, could you do me a favor? I appreciate chasing her work and what she does, and what she publishes, and her investigative skills. And if you can, please don't attack her in the chat. She won't attack anybody in the chat either. So, and if she has, then she shouldn't. If you have, please don't. Please get along. And that should be the last statement.
Attorneys to the case.
They have been appointed for other instances, but it bleeds over into this investigation as well.
Summerwell's father, Don, was arrested late last year for driving under.
Not a direct line of communication.
That-
He's
Damn it.
involved, and that is not a direct line of communication.
That tone is quite the change from what it was last year when Summer was first reported missing.
It was pretty good. We would show up about every day, make sure that they were okay, and had a decent line of communication with them.
About a month later, in July, Child Protective Services removed her 3 older brothers from their home and appointed attorneys to the case.
They have been appointed for other instances, but it bleeds over into this investigation as well.
Summerwell's father, Don, was arrested late last year for driving.
Yeah, we know that. They did say that at least one of the CPS contacts back then was to pull the brothers. If I'm not mistaken, that was after the visit to the house before she disappeared, right? Wish people knew what that visit was all about, but I know they can't share any details. Someone, you can only assume one of the children or someone else, I guess. So it could have been someone else outside the family said something. But yeah. I really want to, basically the main reason I wanted to put this out tonight is, I guess, kind of a counter to because the public statement, I think, would make people draw a whole bunch of conclusions. And I just wanted to point out what he actually said in the X account, because people probably wouldn't look at that. And he did say it was just the brothers, wasn't Summer, wasn't related to Summer. Although people have made a good point tonight, right? That Pruitt at least implied there that there was some connection to the Summerwell's investigation. So maybe what I think it was Mama Jean said earlier, or someone, that for the CPS case, that CPS case, the earlier one, had to be resolved first before they could move forward. Although now it's not Pruitt and it's not Hawkins County, it's TBI. So there's no saying, there's no telling what TBI is thinking about this whole thing at this moment. That's all guessing. She said Pruitt said CPS had to be resolved before they could find Summer. Yeah, I know. It makes, I don't know. Pruitt, from what that statement that I just heard him say, all he was saying is that that earlier CPS incident where they pulled the brothers out of the house had bled into the case. So yeah, I'm not sure about being resolved. I don't know why it would have to be resolved, actually. If they found criminal evidence, they would not, you're right, they would not have to resolve any CPS anything. If there's criminal evidence proving something, they would immediately file charges, for sure. Sometimes law enforcement cuts deals to work as an informant and witness if there's a trafficking ring involved. Boys are safe, and if Summer is found, new charges could be filed. Yeah. Again, we can only guess on that stuff. On the Summers related, anything Summer related, we can only guess, because there's nothing released that furthers that case, including what was released today, in my opinion, because it wasn't related. The appeal wouldn't only be filed in February 13 of 2025 if it was related to a CPS incident or case 4 years ago. In my opinion, I mean, why would any appeal only take place in 2025? But we know it's not. We know it's only related to the boys. I'm just saying, if someone wants to make the case that, well, it's related to the boys and the boys were pulled in 2021, maybe it's related. Again, why would the appeal only be February 25, 2025? And it wasn't like multiple appeals. I don't get that impression either from this document. So Yeah, that's what I wanted to cover. And Kate, unless anybody else has any other thoughts on this, I just wanted to provide some clarification. Thank you, Chasing, for confirming that. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm hoping people take that seriously and don't draw conclusions from what was released today. Please don't. Don't don't tie it to the Summer Wells case. Don't in either way. And I would say this if it said they were guilty too. I would still say, yeah, if they were guilty of it, I would say don't connect it to the Summer Wells case. We did make the statement. I should say that because people are going to call me hypocritical. I did say earlier kind of what Pruitt said. If it was true, I would say it informs what went on in the house. We know now it informs what went on in the house with the boys, and it's in a positive way, not a negative way. So yeah, it's okay. I mean, there are no major details remaining anymore. I mean, this is the biggest fact that was the secret was just that there was a DCS movements, DCS things in the courts happening, and now it's out. So there's no more secret, in my opinion. Could the same attorney represent a juvenile client for both family court DCS investigation and also a criminal charge? I'm not a legal expert, so I do not know. I want to say probably. Oh, wait. Same attorney represent a juvenile client. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. Wish we had lawyers in here. Hey, Vicky, you came in right toward the end. I think that I've covered everything I want to cover. Like I said, it was mostly just to draw the connection between what Don said in his X account versus what was only provided in the document, which I feel just was limited, very limited, and would make people draw conclusions that should be drawn. And repeat again that this case was not related to Summer Wells. She wasn't one of the allegations, and I don't think it informs the case either way, in my opinion, good or bad. Hey, thanks, Mike. If you have anything, you can contact me. Email rdube02@gmail.com or my Facebook page. Yeah, I guess that is the big thing. Which I feel bad because we always say we're not saying they're guilty or innocent, but don't imply that it clears them, because it's just not truthful. Again, nothing against the Wells, and I understand, like, Don wants people to believe that, and if he is innocent and he wants to just take anything he has and be like, look, we're innocent. You know what I mean? I get why you might want to do that, but you can't do it in a misleading way like this. Like, this isn't related. So Facebook is Ryan Finds Truth. If you go on Facebook and just search Ryan Finds Truth, you should find my page pretty easily. I check it all the time. I still am able to respond to people. We don't have so many contacts that we haven't been able to keep up. Hopefully that lasts. We enjoy hearing from people and communicating with our viewers. So, and we get a lot of really good information. We get volunteers. We get, man, it's been really amazing. The viewers have made us been just able to do so much. We met Vern. We met Vern through a random message. Vern's shirts. We met, Butch. We met through interviewing him. But we've met so many amazing people, just from people coming in as viewers and chatting with us. I think this press run from the Wells is very misleading. Thank you. I'm glad you agree. I'm concerned that they're only interested in making themselves look good. Yeah. Not sorry for feeling that way. Thank you for saying that, Gabble Geeks, because I didn't want to come across as like, just like trying to attack them. But what you just said, I think I could have summed it up in just what you said right there. You know, I think that's pretty much what I felt today when I saw this, and it just rubbed me the wrong way, and that's exactly why. It's just misleading. Um, it's almost the 15th, you guys, and like last thing I want to do is cause more stress either, too. You know, so. And I don't even know if there's anything happening this year. I haven't heard anything happening this year as far as a vigil. I hope there's a vigil. If there's not, we may just go to Where's Park and do something of our own. Just Jen and I say a prayer or something. But it's sad. We're 3 days away from the 4-year anniversary, and I didn't think, I thought last year, you guys, after the last vigil last year, I'm like, absolutely it's going to be 2025, 2024, or 2025 that TBI comes out and there's just a resolution in this case. And it just tears Jen and I up that we're in the 4th year, and I'm losing, like, I'm not, this year I'm not feeling the same way. I'm not like, oh well, maybe next year we'll get it, next year the TBI will come out with something. At this point I'm like, the only thing that gives me hope is TBI put out that statement. It wasn't literally it wasn't a official statement, but Leslie did say she hinted that there's one last little thing. She's like, she talked about Samuel's case, and then she said, like, those cases where you just need one last little thing. And I pray that she's talking about Samuel's case when she says that, because that means that they are either waiting for a witness, some witness, or for someone to break who's close to breaking. Maybe they're onto something, or a piece of evidence they've just got to recover or find. I hope it's not that, because I don't think she'd call finding, you know, HRD, sorry, that's dogs, HR, a little thing, because that's not a little thing. She implied that they're close, and I really hope they are. Yeah, usually though, Mars, like, they don't set anything up until the 15th. So, but usually I get an email from someone. Maybe they don't want us there. So there's always that. I don't know what the feeling is about YouTubers lately. I know that most of the close supporters of the Wells, including the Wells, they completely hate YouTubers. And we get that sense, even though it's not directed toward us when we're there. They're like, YouTubers, you know, because of everything they've been through. But we will do something. Jen and I will go with Moon, and we'll go to Warrior's Path, maybe even I know people hate calling it the swimming hole, but I've just always called it a swimming hole. It's a beautiful time of year. Although it's going to rain. I think it's going to rain this weekend. That kind of sucks. But I did put out I wanted that to be like the last thing I posted before the weekend. The statement I made, if you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. I made a statement about the missing persons cases, all 3 that we cover that have, it's the anniversary this month in June. Nicole Parsons in Georgia lost her son. Ethan Boyd back in June, I think it was mid-June, and it's been 4 years for her too. It's the saddest case. Thankfully, the police are now actually moving a little bit. Related, believe it or not, related to something to one of the things we did recently that I'm really proud of, and I hope it comes to fruition, because the officer, the detective in charge, is, I think, following up with something, and I'm praying so much that something comes out for Nicole, and that Ethan gets found, or at least what happened to him. It's the worst case, in my opinion. I don't know if you know the Ethan Boyd case, but he was given some drugs. I think it was acid, and he just lost his mind. He was a normal kid, lost his mind, started shooting a gun into an unoccupied dwelling in a car, and the police showed up, and he throws the gun to them, and he goes inside the house, and he said, if you come in, I'm going to off myself. I'm going to unalive myself. And they stayed there for a little bit, and then they just left. The police left, allegedly to let him come down off whatever he was on. And then when they came back, they left around 3 a.m, I believe. When they came back, Ethan was gone. And there's a roommate and his girlfriend. They had been suspect for a long time. I interviewed the girlfriend. If you haven't seen it, watch the Marie Pardon interview. I talked to her about it, and I asked her a lot of hard questions. And man, she faced them head on. She answered all my questions, and I leaned more toward her possibly not being involved, but I don't know. I don't know. Her and her boyfriend were like at some location selling something. She claims pot, but they're involved in that community. So I don't know. And then of course there's Layla Santinello. Layla Santinello's case. That's June. And that case is not moving fast. It's moving slowly. But Layla, we have so many theories and so little movement on the law enforcement side. There's just rumors trickle in. I'll tell you though, let me tell you this about the Layla Santinello case, is Jennifer Santinello has some kick-ass researchers helping her out, who are the type of researchers, they're local. One of them, and I'll just tell you, Sierra is amazing because she talks to people in the community. She just knows people and she networks, and she'll find out information, man, that I think law enforcement probably doesn't even get access to a lot of cases. So a lot of times she comes up with, hey, I think we need to check this location out. And so we'll just a couple days before the weekend, she's like, we need to check this location out. Like, okay, get the gear together and get out there with them and try to help them out. But it's Jennifer, I'll tell you right now, Jennifer is having the hardest time this month, for obvious reasons. I talked to her a few days ago for late into the night, because we were just talking about theories, the case, what's going on with stress, and she's having a hard time. For the sake of the families, I'm almost like really looking forward to June to be over, just because they're suffering so much. But then they have another year to face. But of course, our first case ever, white whale, as they call it, Summer Wells. And Summer Wells, man, you guys, the way I got into the Summer Wells case was so surreal, because I told this story so many times. I loved nature. I was out in nature. I was making nature videos, and I felt like that thing was missing, like the purpose. And I wanted a reason to be out there, not just being out there, even though it's beautiful. I loved it. And, love of children, discovering all of the missing persons cases in the area and stumbling on this case that had gone on for so long, and then hearing about her story, what her life was like. It just killed me. And so I grabbed that case. We discovered pretty quick after I decided to go on a couple of those searches that apparently it was a worldwide case, and it blew up. And of course, then people accused us of only choosing it for that reason. There was all the hate, like I'm going to call it the year of hate. And then it was like, whatever, block everyone, keep doing what you're doing. And then more and more cases came up. Some families reached out to us, and we are in a place today I never imagined we'd be in, where we just kept getting more resources, afford more equipment, drones. And now we attended this, thanks to Butch Mann, at this point, my best friend, honestly, a mentor, the canine trainer certifier with the American Working Dog Association up in Pennsylvania, invited us last weekend to go up there, do a full documentary on, it was mixed between law enforcement and, civilian volunteers training their dogs. And Butch said, we were going to leave Moon, you guys, like we were going to go do this documentary, and we were going to leave Moon home in a kennel because we didn't want her barking at all the canine dogs. And when I told Butch that, he goes, are you kidding me? He goes, you're coming because you're bringing Moon. It's like, I want to see that dog. He claimed that in the videos, he could see her behavior, the way her nose went, and he wanted to get his hands on that dog. And So last weekend we went for like a couple weekends ago, we went for a long, it was the end of May, 31, end of May into June. That Sunday was June 1. You guys, we saw bomb dogs. We saw narcotic dogs getting trained. We saw Moon got to do puppy runs, which was basically you drop a hat or a jacket, you have her smell it. The person goes and hides behind a tree, and she has to smell the path all the way there. And her very first time, like most puppies will go from like a tree 10 feet to a tree 20 feet, and then they'll do it a couple times, and that's it for puppies. And Butch did that with Moon once, 10 feet, 20 feet. Then he's like, try something. And then he just goes way across the field. I don't know, 100, 200 feet. I'm not good with distance. So, but I couldn't see him anymore. He was behind a tree. I'm like, there's no way she can do this. She's not trained to track people. And we did it again. She smelled, and I'm like, find it. That's our command for her to do live tracking. And I'm like, find it. And I have this recorded. You'll see it in the video. The documentary is coming out starting next Monday, I think. And then is like parts to it. And you'll see this where she just smelled it and went and kept going. She lost the scent sometimes. Her nose went off, went in the air. She found him. I was blown away. And so Butch was right. Like she has some kind of natural. We think she's better at live tracking currently because HRD training is so hard. Number one, you need scent, you need source, and you put that in container, and you have to kind of train her to put her nose in something, and then keep doing that over and over. Then you give her 2 containers and she has to find her way to it. So we're in the middle of doing that now. But we learned HRD and we learned live tracking. We saw bomb dogs. I put on a suit for getting attacked by a bite dog. That was fun. But anyway, I'm sidetracked. I meant to talk about this tonight. I just want to tell you guys what we were up to. Yeah, it was fun. Moon had fun. But that's what's coming, you guys. Thank you for coming to the live tonight. Again, we don't do lives often. Jen didn't want to do this. Jen heard about this whole thing and she's like, I'm just confused. She's confused and about this statement that Dawn put out. She wasn't ready to come live either, and she's just thinking about this. She's thinking it over. She didn't like it, but she didn't understand why he left out all the details. But anyway, that's why I wanted to get online. We'll probably do this again with Jen. I'll probably do this again with Jen. I don't know if it'll be this weekend, but we're going to try to hook up with you guys more, and it's nice to see you live. It's just hard, you guys, because we do something almost every single weekend. Thank you, Gobble Geeks. We do something every single weekend. Sometimes even when it rains. Maybe when it rains, we should just stay home and do a live. Honestly, just to reconnect with you all. Yeah, just to reconnect with you all, because I hear from a lot of you in my DMs, and I appreciate that too. Staying in touch. It's nice to see you guys every now and then and just chat and talk. I feel like it's boring sometimes if we have nothing to talk about. If you like lives where we just chat, we can do that too, especially when Jen's here, because I know you guys like to just chat with Jen, but I like to have something to talk about to go live. So that's why I don't do it that often. Yeah, thank you, Aaron. We try really hard to be. Sometimes it's very hard to be unbiased. I'm sure you all know that. You try to do the best you can, making a decision based on the information you have in front of you. And ignoring the biases and things you want to believe is so hard. So hard. I appreciate all of you, though, who do that, who look at all the facts and you don't draw conclusions because of your own belief system or something you want to believe. I know a lot of you out there, you appreciate it because probably that's how you think too. And I appreciate that about all of you. Oh, Jenna, you came in late. I'm just closing out. I'm sorry. You might have to rewatch the live. We're talking about the statement that Dawn put out today, and I covered all of that. I'm sorry. I know Jen's not here, so you probably wouldn't have enjoyed this live as much anyway. So she will be in the next one. We'll try to do lives a little more often. But we miss seeing you, Jenna. It's nice to see you in here. Sorry we missed you. Yeah, that is true, Chi-Chi. It was not a great situation for Summer, but again, there are degrees of neglect and abuse, and some people have different litmus tests for that. So, did he smile and smirk? I didn't pay attention to his expression. He kind of had the same as usual. Sorry. Sorry, Kathy. I know. When I listen to it after, I get so annoyed with myself because the sound for this thing, I got to get a new mic. I apologize. I will get a new mic. The one that will pick up both Jen and I in the room, one of those really nice, expensive ones. I'll try not to turn away. Thank you, Robin. Try not to get discouraged. As long as we have something to do the next weekend, I don't get that discouraged. It's when we run out of ideas. And the summer case, that's what started happening. I just started running out of ideas where to look. After we did the chimney top, I'm like, that was a big one for me. I wanted to get the bottom of those cliffs. And then there is a place in Ben Hill I would just like to explore, to be honest with you. Ben Hill Road area behind it. There's a deep place of forest I want to drone. So I do have that. But when I run out of places and ideas is when I start to get just really, I do get discouraged, and I try to do more research that pulls up places, but all I get is a lot of times not enough information for anything. So I have to guess. Yeah, I agree, Owl Geeks. All right, it's 10:30. It's been an hour and 16 minutes, and I could drone on forever. I appreciate you all still staying here, but I'm gonna head out. I gotta finish editing all of the documentary of the Canine weekend. I'm like halfway through, and I know they're all waiting to see it, and I need to get that done for them, especially. So, oh, thank you, Shelly. That would be amazing. I can't go to Ohio. I'll pay you to ship it to me though. If you send me your address or your Venmo or something, I'll pay for it if you want. If it's one of those like nice ones that picks up everything, because I really don't want to buy a new one, but appreciate that. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming in tonight. For all of you watching after this live is done, I hope this gave a little more insight into what this whole thing was all about, and helps you draw your own conclusions that are informed. And yeah, thank you all. Appreciate you all. Have a great night.